last panel discussion today is the focus of the chamber. The sky's the limit. And this is addressing some of the area's current and anticipated industrial growth opportunities and some of the challenges that they may face. Sorry about that. Today I'm going to have a panel. I'd like to introduce Peter Bale, Senior Vice President with SRS, GRP, and Director of Virginia Space Flight Academy, if you'll come up forward. Liz Burdock, Director of the Business Coalition for Maryland Offshore Wind, and Katarina Ennerfelt, President of Toroid Corporation of Salisbury. Today we're going to be moderated by Dr. Dale Wesson, Vice President for Research and Economic Development here at UMES, who is also having some economic impact on us with opportunity growth. So, Dr. Wesson, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, John. As he mentioned, my role at the university is Vice President for Research and Economic Development. It's a newly created division at the university created by Dr. Bale, and I would be remiss if I wouldn't give you just a little bit of focus of what our research and economic development, how it sort of blends in with this particular topic. We've got three main areas that we're focusing on at the university. Being a land grant, agriculture obviously is a research and economic development area. Our life sciences is one of the drivers for our graduate programs and graduate research. And then also we're focusing on energy, particularly in the renewable areas, in the area of solar with our current solar farm, wind. We're talking a little bit about wind here, about the offshore wind, and all of our measurement of our wind resources. And also we're looking at bioremediation, manure and the like of producing energy from that. And then we're also focusing on the development of microgrids and development of smart energy management tools. So with that, I'd like to just get a feel for, give you guys a feel for how this particular panel is going to operate. Each of the three will give a 3 to 5 minute review, and then I'll start it off with questions. There'll be someone that'll come through with actual note cards so you can write your questions as they develop, and then we'll have a question and answer session that'll finish this off sometime around 1:15. Okay? So we'll start with Peter Bale with this 3 to 5 minute review.
So good afternoon, and thank you. I'll use my best southern Alabama accent for you. So originally from Australia, came here about 10 years ago and ran a couple of unmanned aircraft programs with NASA down at Wallops. Flew some missions all over the globe using unmanned technologies to go and fly into hurricanes, better understand weather, global warming, the Antarctic, all of those things that are so important for Earth sciences. Was highly enlightened by the last panel before lunch with the focus on the ag community here, and as the past chairman of AUVSI, the Association for Unmanned Vehicles, we've changed our tune from an industry that has been purely militarily focused from what we resiliently don't like to call drones, the unmanned aerial vehicle technology, into areas such as the civil and commercial market. It was interesting to listen to your PMT, paths forward and understanding phosphorus. I've been working with a foundation in Oklahoma for about 2 years now, working with unmanned aircraft to better understand how we can look at these phosphorus requirements in the soil, on the ground, from the air, etc., without relying on satellite technology. So at the front, I bought some eye candy for you. On the right-hand side, costs around $200, not off Amazon, although John would love that to be off Amazon from Bezos. It flies for about 8 minutes. It's a little thing called the AR Paro drone. It has a high-definition camera. It'll sit there at about 60 to 80 feet above the ground. Took my 12-year-old about 4 minutes to get it in the air and doing circuits. So highly intuitive, runs on an iPad. You can run it on your Android, etc. We moved then into our friends from China, developed a thing called the DJI Parrot. It's a semi-autonomous vehicle, about $1,000. Comes with a fully integrated payload mission system on board. GPS denied, so you can get to a couple of thousand feet. Not that the FAA wants to hear about that, but you can then switch the controller off, and the aircraft will actually land itself, come back, find out where it was, and pre-position and land autonomously. On the far left is a homegrown Maryland asset, UAV Solutions out of Jessup, Maryland. It's a quad rotor. They design and build aircraft in Maryland for the special ops community. They fly all over the world. It's a woman-owned small business, around 55 employees. And we've been working with them for the last couple of years on penetrating what is the civil commercial market. So we're very excited, and I was highly enlightened, and I am familiar with the UMES precision ag approach in using different technologies. And we see that this unmanned application brings a whole new frontier. For the farmers in the group, I'm pretty sure you'd like to increase your productivity or your return or crop yield by 20 to 30%. With this technology, we've already seen those applications come to fruition, and we've already seen the reduction in pesticide application, in the ability to apply fertilizer in a precision environment. So this technology is coming. We're delighted to also understand that the FAA has announced the 6 test sites for UAS integration into the NAS, and the team of Virginia, Maryland and New Jersey have been selected as one of those test sites. Wallops plays a critical part in that, as too does UMES here, the Crisfield Airport and some of the other facilities within Maryland. So it's an exciting time. We're at a right moment in history as far as aviation goes, and I'm proud to live here on the shore. I live on Chincoteague. They actually speak a little bit different to me as well, so I don't fit in that well there either. So with that said, I am an advocate for this industry. There's a lot of privacy concerns out there at the moment, but they are being addressed by an industry that is very responsive and very resilient. So if you see these flying up and down the causeway, or in Salisbury, or doing real estate, or doing other things, at the moment they are illegal. You cannot do this as a for-profit centre to go and fly these to make money. The FAA has designated these test sites, and that's where we're excited as the 3 states to come together to nut out what the industry needs to do, how we obey the privacy concerns, and how we then move this forward. The last point in it is I've heard the comptroller, I've heard everyone talk about jobs. Between the 2 states, we did a study around 18 months ago. The potential growth here in the next 5 to 7 years is $5 billion between both Maryland and Virginia, just in revenue alone. The job cycle there, we're looking in the next 10 years up to 100,000 individuals being employed in the US by this industry alone. And that's from a manufacturing standpoint, it's from a service and support standpoint, and it's from the standpoint of this is a new industry that has a long way to go. And I'm pleased to sit here today and tell you a little bit about it. I was going to fly the one on the right, but I saw all the disclaimers at the start of the meeting today, so I'm out. So there's obviously too many lawyers in the crowd for me to go and risk that. So with that said, thank you, and I am a local asset and resource. If you want to understand anything about this industry, I live, breathe and eat it, and I am local, and I'm proud to bring this technology to the shore. So thank you.
Well, next we've got Liz Burdock, the Director of Business Coalition of Maryland Offshore Wind.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's really exciting to talk to the Lower Eastern Shore about Maryland offshore wind, because obviously it's going to have a huge impact on this region, and we're very excited about it. Just to give you a little bit of background about me, I am a native Maryland girl. I grew up here, but I grew up in the western part of the state. But I'm very committed to bringing jobs to Maryland, and that's why I'm so excited about this emerging industry. I started my career 20 years ago in clean energy, and actually in the Clinton administration. So I specialize in how public policy can create markets for new technology. So it's a really great fit. We're actually the business network for Maryland offshore wind. We were created 2 years ago in support of the Maryland Offshore Wind Energy Act of 2000, at that time of 2012, but it was actually passed last year with the state legislature in 2013. It took the governor 3 times to get the bill through, but we were finally successful. And what that bill does is it creates a mechanism for a 200 megawatt offshore wind project off the coast of Ocean City, which is going to be sited about 12 miles out. The lease area actually can hold 1,000 megawatts, but there is an OREC provision in the legislation that creates a funding mechanism at around $180 million, which is really important because for the developer to get that OREC financial tool, they have to show net economic benefit to the state, which in turn means jobs created here in Maryland. So we're a network of businesses, and we're focused on, now we're focused from moving from policy to project. And what we're looking to do is to create an information sharing and collaborative organization where there's a lot of business to business sharing, where there's also a lot of business to government information sharing. The size of the project, when we talk about jobs and economic development, the project will be a $1 billion project. And we see jobs created not just in the construction of the project, but also specifically in the operations and maintenance area of this project, which is really important for you all, because that is where we see the majority of the local jobs coming from. And that is a 20-year lifespan of O&M, and that equates to 30% of the project budget, which I'm not very good in math, but 30% of $1 billion is a lot of dollars coming directly into the state. So that is the business network for Maryland Offshore Wind.
And next, we've got Katarina Ennerfelt from the Toroid Corporation of Maryland.
That is correct. Is this on?
Here, take this.
Hello.
Take this.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yes. Cool. First of all, yes, my name is Katarina Ennerfelt, and I'm with Toroid Corporation and Arcon Welding. That's both two private-owned, private-operated companies.
Put the microphone closer to you.
Privately owned, privately and family-operated companies here in Maryland. We've been in business for 30 years. I'm here because this is manufacturing. I'm here because in Maryland, in average, in Maryland overall, manufacturing stands for about 5% of the jobs. In Wycomico County, it's almost 10%. I'm a little bit interested. How many manufacturers do we have in this room? Can you raise a hand? Manufacturers? I know there's one. I was sitting right beside him. One. Okay. And how many do we have that in one shape or form service manufacturing? If we're talking healthcare, real estate, we're talking your printed materials, your websites, we're buying material from you. Somewhere along the line, I'm trying to show that manufacturing has a huge impact on this economy. Normally, we're talking about a multiplying effect of, it's between 2 and 3.5, depending on where we get our raw material. In numbers, there are about 4,000 people in Wycomico County that is employed by manufacturing. The effect, the multiplying effect, is about between 12 and 15,000 jobs, that's depending on manufacturing in Wycomico County. Historically, we've had a really strong manufacturing background in this area. We had some big players. We had Dresser, Campbell Soup, that had been in the textile industry, and that's historically. Lately, there's a lot of small players. Small players that size like us, it's 50 to 100 employees. We have a couple of larger ones. But what happened when the big companies disappeared, we lost our voice. We were also used to having one big employer that talked for us, that talked for manufacturing, that drove the industry, that drove the awareness in the community about manufacturing. And somewhere along the line, we lost that. And that's why I'm sitting here right now. I've been knocking on every door I can to let everybody know that manufacturing is actually alive. It's alive and it's kicking in Wycomico County, and it's well above state and national levels.
Okay, so we'll start our question and answer session. I'm going to start off with a few questions of my own, and then while we're talking, there'll be the index cards will be passed out. Oh boy! But this particular question is for Katarina. What are some of the roadblocks that you see in the development of the workforce on the Eastern Shore?
If we're looking at the workforce, which is one of the issues we have in manufacturing, that's what we all have. Because if we're sitting together in a room, what you will hear is that we complain about the workforce. We complain about they're not showing up on time, they don't pass the drug testing, they don't know what they're doing. I mean, it's this continuous ongoing problem. Most of the manufacturing, I can only talk for manufacturing, I can only talk from my opinion. Most of manufacturing, we have very loyal employees today. There's a lot of tribal knowledge. At Toroid Corporation, our average employee has been with us for 12 years. We have about 30% of our employees are going to retire within 5 years, 50% within 10 years. And apart from new jobs and new opportunities, we also need to find new ways on how to replenish the workforce and how to move the tribal knowledge over to the new workforce coming in.
Okay. And this one's for Liz. How does the offshore wind, will it benefit Eastern Shore?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I actually see the offshore wind industry benefiting the Eastern Shore in three major areas. First is infrastructure, and it's infrastructure to support the construction of the project out in the water. And there's going to be potentially transfer stations built where components will come into the Port of Baltimore, but then they'll they'll be shipped over from Europe, they will come into the Port of Baltimore, they will be assembled there and then taken out to these transfer stations, which are going to be on the lower Eastern Shore, and then they will be transferred over to what we term jack-up vessels, which then will go out into the ocean and construct the turbines out there. So there's going to be transfer station construction. There's also going to be an O&M port constructed or enhanced in the Ocean City area. They're looking at that right now. So there's going to be jobs around what I term marine construction for both of those location transfer stations and the O&M port, and then also land-based construction, because we're going to need buildings and roads there, as well as architects and engineers. And then the second area is actually the construction of the project itself. There'll be vessel operators that will be needed, environmental services, support personnel, electricians, cabling, welders. We have a huge need for welders. And then finally, again, is the O&M function, as I talked about. We're going to specifically need vessel construction, work boats, specifically for operations and maintenance. I understand that there's some shipbuilding operations on the lower Eastern Shore. This is a prime opportunity for manufacturing here on the work boat side. When the project's being constructed, at one time out there are 100 boats going. So there's also there's a boat and a logistics function that's going to be needed. And then finally, what we term the secondary or tertiary, but it's really important to you all, is the hospitality side, the catering, the hotels, the meeting planners. We're going to need service, cleaning, all of that is going to be touched upon, and it's going to be huge. And I also think, too, that your tourism, which is, I know, a huge important component of the Lower Eastern Shore, I think will also be bolstered because people want to see these. They want to see the turbines. They want to go out and look at them. So I think you're going to have a whole new tourism industry around this.
Okay. And Peter, I've got a two-part question for you. With the selection of Virginia as the UAS test site, where does Maryland fit into that? But also, I'd like for you to address there was a Wall Street Journal article that mentioned that U.S. is way behind in unmanned vehicles as compared to Europe.
So the good news is about the Virginia win is that there was an agreement made in the preceding weeks between Virginia, Maryland, and New Jersey that if there were a win on either side, that there'd be a reunion party afterwards. So that has occurred, and Maryland is now firmly a part of the test site selection as we move forward. So there's a lot of moving pieces in the background with the new team coming together, roles and responsibilities, and what that rolls out like. So the first part is that Maryland, is heavily involved, and it's a good news story for the industry as a whole that we're all back together at the same table. The Wall Street Journal, I'm not familiar with that article, but as far as technology goes, the US has led the way for the last 50 years in this domain. Besides the Israelis who use this stuff every day due to the environment that they live in. I think that the journal may have been slightly construed that the airspace integration piece is moving a lot quicker than what the FAA to date has. So please don't quote me if there's any press in the room. I'm not bagging the FAA. I'm encouraged by the FAA's move that they stuck to their deadlines and that we're moving forward rapidly now with this integration piece. So I would say that technologically we are still as advanced, if not the leader, in this technology around the globe. And our international trade regulatory environment actually exposes that because the restrictions are so tight to exporting any of this technology that the US wants to hold on to a lot of this leading edge stuff that it's doing.
Okay. And this question from the audience, Katarina, what's your opinion on how the increase in minimum wage will affect manufacturing locally?
Tell you the absolute honest truth, and this is just my opinion, I don't think that the minimum wage that being passed is going to be a problem, because I think that the workforce market, the workforce will already have triggered up the pay rates to that point. That's what I'm trying to say is that the shortage, and we see a shortage coming when it comes to labor and workforce. The pay rates are going to go up, whether we want it or not. They are. I would also think, and I cannot talk for every manufacturer here, I know we don't like to be told, nobody likes to be regulated about this is what you have to pay people. Nobody likes that. But if I look at what we today are paying our people when we add up the bonuses, we're way over that pay rate. So this is a part of the stigma that manufacturing today is living with. We have a stigma where we think that it's dirty, we think it doesn't pay good, we think it's unsafe. And this perception is all over the community. It's not just our future workforce or the kids who think this. This is you guys too. If you think about it and you think manufacturing, because that's just how it works. And we haven't been a part of creating this. we've been a part of by sticking and doing our own thing. We haven't invited you into our production floors to see what we're doing. We haven't been out there trying to market ourselves. But I think that the minimum wage might in some cases be needed, and I appreciate that. We will have to fight a little bit harder because, again, we will have to fight with the fast food places for employees, because there's no question about it. On the Eastern Shore, it's a labor-intense manufacturing that we have. We don't have the high-tech, the technology, what we're talking about when we talk manufacturing, robotics, and all these things. A lot of what we're doing is we're making the harnesses to the drones. We're going to make other things, and that's all going on in Wicomico County. And a lot of it is actually labor-intense. And look at it this way, too. We're alive and kicking after this recession. So there's something to say about the future and what we want to do.
Okay. I'm going to give a disclaimer. This question comes from the audience. For Liz. The wind project offshore seems to be taking forever. Where are we on, is this normal, the length, the time scale? And also, if you could, someone would like to also know, comparably, the cost of generating electricity offshore to that onshore.
Okay, well, the two-part question. The first on the timeline. It has taken us a while to get Maryland offshore wind launched. I would like to say that's due to the part of not passing the legislation the first time around. However, what we do in December, the Department of Interior, the Bureau of Ocean Management just released our point of sale notice. So that is out on the street. We have developers who are registered with the Department of Interior who are going to be bidding on the project. We expect to have that auction will go public. They have 90 days to comment on the regulations, and then it will go to auction. So we expect to have the auction this spring and the developer in place by the summer, which will be a huge step forward. The second thing is that the Public Service Commission is going to be releasing their regulations July 1st. So that's another step forward in how the project will be regulated. So we are making significant advancements really quickly, although it has taken us some time to get up and running. I do also want to say that from a construction standpoint, I think you will be seeing construction on the infrastructure in the next 12 to 18 months, specifically on the O&M port. We're currently looking now, there's going to be an RFP come out to look at a planning for the port. They're looking for port engineer experience, so if anybody has a firm that's got port engineer experience, please let me know. So those are some of the jobs that you're going to be seeing from the planning standpoint. The other thing is that we are going to be starting on our substation. The substation has to be done first, and it goes into the water, the first thing, and it takes 5 years to construct that substation with 2 years of planning and 3 years of construction. So for us to be spinning in the water, the turbine spinning in the water by 2019, we're getting started, and we're getting started now.
Good. And the power?
The power. We're a lot more expensive out in the ocean. Offshore wind energy is substantially more expensive. I can't give you the exact number versus either land-based wind and or just regular power generation, but it is more expensive. You're in a marine environment. Anytime you're in a marine environment, as you all know, and constructing in a marine environment, the cost does go up. One of the things that we are looking to do is lower the cost of energy. And when I say we, I mean that globally, internationally. We're looking for ways to lower that cost of energy, and we're looking for, and I think that's a place that America has an opportunity, is for innovation, innovative technologies to lower that cost.
Okay. And Peter, what skills or new skills and academic degrees are required to provide a skilled workforce for the unmanned flight industry?
Yeah, so we're seeing a skill set much like Katarina and probably what Liz are looking for, all the way from from community college level education of composite manufacturing, mechanical, electrical assembly, all the way up through to external composite layup of particular products like you see up the front. Then into the engineering degrees, the software side, the mechanical, obviously engineering, electrical engineering. They're all very important pieces in that. The other thing is that our industry has migrated to PlayStation technology. So all our kids, pick this up so quickly as far as the user interface, what it does, etc. So the computer dexterity that most 12-year-olds have now, or 14-year-olds, is what we're finding is the up-and-comings in some experiments. As AUVSI, with my foundation hat on, we hold competitions at Webster Field in Patuxent River, Maryland. And we have schools from across the country come, and I'm obviously not the oldest one in the room here, and I'm not the youngest past president by any means of whatever that was before. But we're seeing more and more of the technology that these kids grasp so early. It's unbelievable. 3 years ago, they couldn't design an autonomous board themselves. They had to go and buy it from China. Now they're building them in their high school labs, after school, and flying an autopilot at Webster Field, meeting NavAir requirements. So pretty special breed of technologists coming through, and again, I think we're all in the same boat as what the baseline skills are, and the diversity of the upper end skills as well.
Okay. And for the entire panel, anybody can chime in. The question has come out: how can we stop the brain drain? Okay. With that, no.
Can I take that one?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I have a suggestion, and this again is from my point of view. What we're doing is that we're trying to create an economy from the top. We're trying to we want a lot of engineers, a lot of brains sit at the top, come up with ideas, and then the rest will follow. How about if we start to build on what we're good at, what we're really excellent at doing today? We have a beautiful community, we have a good workforce, and how about if we just start as an employer, and this is honest too. As an employer, I sometimes look what happens if I have to relocate. What I do is I go on the internet and I go and look up at the websites and I check out what's the median income, what's the median house prices, what's the unemployment. How about if we just start to fix the infrastructure, and I can tell you that it's going to grow, there's stuff going to happen, and somewhere along the line where there are jobs, where things are happening, we will get the brains back.
So the STEM initiatives, I think, are one of the most important things that we've got here in both communities. Both just on the other side of the border there in Virginia and Maryland. The STEM, the outreach. One of the biggest things I've found with even my own kids is that there needs to be an inspirational piece to, lighting the fire for this knowledge. And that's what we're missing in some of the school systems at the moment. The after hours programs that are run here are doing that, and it's building the industry now to keep them here. That's the exciting part. But the STEM piece is huge, and we have to continue to invest in that part.
I do have something here. From my perspective and what we're trying to do in the offshore wind industry, as we establish this industry in the U.S., but specifically in Maryland, is create career ladders so that we have opportunities for very low-skilled to highly advanced workers to enter into this market, but that they have advancement along the way. So there is a continuum. So one of the things that we're looking at, specifically I mentioned that we're going to need a lot of welders in the offshore wind industry. We just won an EARN grant, and we have some partners in the room. Mary Myers from Worcester Economic Development is part of this, where we're looking at how do we create a workforce today and employ them in current jobs but also make sure that they get the training and the skills that they need for those advanced jobs into the future so that we can keep them here and that we're not losing them to other places.
Okay. And with that, I'd like to thank the panel members and let everybody give them a hand. And